All right, so the modest topic for today is the potential effects of COVID-19 on Western civilization. And I do want to say at the outset that I have a paper that is behind this presentation. It's coming out in the Annals of Cultural Studies. That's an open source or open access journal, so I can make it available and will make it available to people who can delve into much more detail into some of the things I'm going to talk about here. So, having said that, what are going to be the potential effects of COVID-19 on Western civilization? And my starting point for this is a model of civilization by the great sociologist Norbert Elias. I do want to say that I'm an economist, so you may think it's unusual that I use a sociological model, but I'm very interdisciplinary, and I think you need sociological models to get into the dynamics of society and civilization in particular. And for Elias, this is the important point. What is civilization? For Elias, it's a process. It's basically, and he sees this as a Western process, so it doesn't necessarily apply to non-Western societies. But basically what happens in his view is that we have developed from just, sort of more basic social forms into this highly sophisticated Western civilization, really through a twofold process of what he calls sociogenesis and psychogenesis. And sociogenesis refers to changes in the social structure, and psychogenesis refers to changes in the individual psyche. And these go together. And the basic, they evolve in what he calls a blind way. And he sees these as sort of like evolution, biological and genetic change, as things that we can sort of observe on some level, but that essentially are unconscious to us as a species, and that are natural and organic and not good or bad, but just sort of part of the human condition, and particularly creating of human society. And we basically, they interact. And what he says is that we've ended up, in terms of modernity, in a situation where we have very highly attenuated and very long social chains that are very interdependent. We are more interdependent with our fellow human beings across larger numbers than ever before. But that has happened because of changes in our individual psyche, where we've become much more attuned to other people's needs, much more repressive of our animal instincts, much more sublimated. And this is not a bad thing, according to Elias. All the things that we like about Western civilization, great works of art, large, magnificent cities, are a product of this. But at the same time, we also have all the things that we know are negative, like environmental destruction and rampant materialism, and, as I argue in the paper and show in the paper, disease. So epidemics and pandemics are social diseases, and you can see, and I do track this in the paper, that they have grown up as civilization has expanded, as sort of social connection, densities, population, exchanges between different peoples and countries and all that sort of thing. All that has increased with the civilizing process. And to add another concept that Elias uses and develops in later work, technization has increased apace as well. And technization for Elias refers to a natural process of human manipulation of the natural world for its own ends, the ends of the species, if you will. And again, that's something that's sort of unconscious. We often think of technology as being by these brave innovators and a conscious kind of process, and Elias doesn't see it that way. Not totally unconscious, but something that basically is a natural drive and a natural social process. And what happens is now, in terms of modern civilization, as we all know, we've gotten, and COVID has really brought this to the fore, our society has created more and more epidemic and pandemic than ever before, but also more ability from a technical perspective to address and respond to and manage these epidemics and pandemics. And I say both social and technological. So from a technological point of view, things like vaccines, we have more ability than ever before to do these kinds of, sort of solutions to the outbreak of mass disease. But socially also, and this is something that's very interesting about COVID-19, is social isolation, social distancing, social surveillance. I mean, these are things that we can now do better than ever before, more prodigiously than ever before. And these are parts of the social solution that has arisen out of Western civilization. But the conundrum is that the tension now is that, the problem is what's happened is that we are less able to do sort of more old-fashioned, you could almost call them spiritual and purely social types of mobilizations to combat and respond to epidemics than we used to have. And one point I make is that values are an outgrowth of civilization, one of the highest products of civilization. And what's happened is now we have not really a culture that's motivated or that's built around sort of a sacrifice for a common good. We have the rhetoric for it, but really not the sort of social values, the social structure that we have. And the psychogenesis has also shifted as well. And so I make a point in the paper that it's, now we talk about, the balance between, our lifestyle and our economy and our, and combating the disease, and there's these kind of sort of trade-off models. But I have trouble imagining Churchill, for example, talking to the British people about, let's trade off, fighting the Germans with, sort of our lifestyle. It's and I'm not holding up Churchill in any sense. I don't want to sort of. I'm just making a provocative example there to say that we have a this kind of conundrum that's arisen. And so, and in the paper, I basically put out three scenarios. Possible scenarios. One is where we actually do manage to bring back the immaterial, subsumed technization under the civilizing process, get a better balance around that. The dystopian one is more, the sort of Mad Max, scenario where we have kind of a decline. We have sort of some technological sort of achievements still there, but we have this sort of decline in social structure. And then the third, which I think is the most likely, but not necessarily the best one, is where we have this continuing sort of fragmentation and push-pull between social needs and social values and technical solutions. And I pose three questions for the panel, just to provoke us. The first is, can we put technology back under social back for social ends? Can we bring technology back under sort of social needs and ends, or is it too late for that? The second is, can we bring the immaterial, those values that are immaterial, spiritual, whatever you want to call them, back sort of into a materialist culture? And how would we do that? And the third is regarding the role of government. Is government part of the problem or part of the solution? How can government, given those first two questions, how can government help us or not? So those are provocative questions, and I will leave it at that.